choose your sales enablement solutions is because your solutions are designed to use consumption time as learning time. Can you expand on that for us?
You see, I think if you go and ask any sales professional out there and you say to them, do you have enough time in the day? I've never met one who goes, oh, of course, I've got plenty of time. But that's a challenge. So we have a shortage of time, but we also know, all sales professionals know that sales, the art of selling has changed. And because the art of selling has changed, we need to acquire new skills. So we need to find time in our day to be able to still sell, because obviously that's our primary motive, and we need to get out there and we need to earn a living, but we also know that we need to constantly improve our skills. So I'm obsessed, it's one of my obsessions, is converting consumption time into investment time. I mean, right now, I have reflexology pads in my shoes because while I'm walking, I don't want to just be walking, I want to be massaging my feet. When I go to gym, I don't just go to gym and exercise, I go to gym and listen to audiobooks. So my obsession in life is how can I convert consumption time into investment time, and I've taken that and I've built it into this program. So one of the great examples is salespeople commute. I mean, an average person, not a sales professional, but an average person commutes about 500 hours a year. That's equivalent to 2 semesters at university. So imagine if you could find a way to convert that 500 hours a year, 2 semesters at university, into learning time. And we've done that, right? So what we've done is we've developed very powerful audiobooks. Now, the purpose of the audiobooks is literally to, first of all, the obvious first one, so it's 3 major reasons. The first one is to give you a facility to take that consumption time and turn it into amazing learning time. The second thing that it does is it helps you to take short-term memory and convert it into long-term memory. So as we realize, when we learn something or when we hear something, what happens is it first of all goes into our short-term memory. And then when we go to sleep at night, is we have what we call mini glial cells. So those mini glial cells literally format your brain. So if there's something, I mean, if I had to say to you, go back to the 1st of September, or the 1st of September 2001, when the aeroplanes crashed, you could literally tell me exactly what you were doing, because your brain never, exactly, it was such a big event, your brain stored that information. But if I had to ask you, what did you do last Wednesday at 2 o'clock? You'll go, no idea, right? Because your mini glial cells have basically formatted that out of your brain. It's no longer there. But by listening to these audiobooks, your mini glial cells realize, okay, I'm hearing this information over and over and over again. It must be important, and therefore I'm going to take that short-term memory, put it into long-term memory. So you're never ever gonna forget it. So but that's just understanding. You know the information, right? The next thing that it does, and this is very, very important, is when we learn information, generally we just chuck it into our brain. So there's this whole lot of random information. And if you go back to, think about when you were at school, right? We would learn a little bit of history and geography and accountancy and chuck it into our brains. And when we got to write that exam, we'd sit there and go, I'm sure I remember that information. But we'd wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and our brain would go, bing! Yeah. We don't want you to do that. I don't want you to be sitting in a sales meeting and wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning going, if only I'd have remembered that key thing, I could have closed that sale. So we remove that. We help you to sort. So by listening to the audiobooks, the third advantage is it helps you to sort the information. It literally puts the information into a filing cabinet so that when you need it, it's available.
Are there any other examples of
like I said,
consumption time that you can give us?
Absolutely. As I said, it's one of my obsessions. So I'm not going to give you too many more examples, but another one of mine is my all-time favorite is that snooze button. You know the snooze button in the morning? You push that snooze button and you sleep for 10 minutes. Well, 5 years from now, my question to you is, 5 years from now, how is that 10 minutes of sleep going to have changed your life? It's not. But imagine if you push that snooze button, you see converting consumption time into investment time, and by doing that, you are now learning. So yes, you push the snooze button, but we've designed a program like this. So you've got materials available to you to support the learning process. So during that 30 minutes in the morning, which would have traditionally just been wasted time, you've now converted it into learning time, which is fantastic. So, and there's a number of different tools and techniques that we use. Like I said, it's an obsession of mine. We help you to take wasted time and turn it into learning time.
So, for example, I mean, you could have a salesperson who has a new product. During that 10-minute snooze time, you pick up your manual, your whatever, and that's how you learn, get your product knowledge done.
But you see, this is what's the power of this system as well, is we're not just teaching you some skills and it goes away. This whole program has been designed to teach you a whole lot of new success habits. One of them is don't push the snooze button. So it's not just while you're learning this course, you're not going to push the snooze button for the rest of your life. So you now have gained 30 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever the length of time to invest into you. And as you know, you get success, you attract success by the person you become. The more you become, the more success you attract. So in other words, you become more when you learn more. And the more time you've got to invest into yourself and your personal growth, the better your success is going to be down the road.
Okay, well that sounds awesome. The second reason your solution really works is because it's delivered in a blended learning approach. Can you elaborate on this and explain what are the advantages to your students by learning a blended learning approach?
Okay, so let me just rewind first. So the first thing that we need to consider is the traditional approach to sales training. And I think this is the reason that a lot of people are very hesitant to engage in sales training, is because they really don't get any benefits. The return on investment is low or nothing, right? And the reason for that is traditional sales training is like a 3-day or 5-day event. You get out of the office, you basically just waste that time. You go for 3 days, for 5 days. You come back, maybe you're inspired for a week afterwards. You might remember 2 to 3 things that you learned, but very, very soon, because as we know, willpower is a depletable resource, very soon it's disappeared.
Generally, people get back on a Monday morning and the first thing that comes in is
a challenge.
All the emails that they missed from when they were on the course, and they start tackling it, going straight back into their
bad habits. And that's one of the things that we do with this program, and we'll get to that later on, is we actually talk about how we support our trainees to convert the right sales activities into their new sales success habit set. So in other words, they know what to do, and then we support them to develop the habits that they kind of do all the right things on autopilot, which is absolutely fantastic.
Okay. So your students not only get to learn new sales skills to ensure that they consistently smash their sales targets, but they'll also get to engage with all the training materials throughout their day.
Absolutely, that's what the blended approach does. So it gives them an opportunity to engage with materials throughout the day. So, for example, they are going to be listening to audiobooks. So that's consumption time to investment time. They're also going to be engaging with our learner management system. So what our learner management system basically does is it has video and it has text, and so that helps the understanding. So they've already developed a deep understanding, they've had loads of repetition listening to the audiobook in the car. Now they engage with the online where there's video, it's very interactive video, there's text explaining, and then most importantly there's questions, because the main purpose of the online system is to take theory, knowing, I know, because that's what most people will go, is they'll go, I know about it. Well, I'm saying knowing it's not good enough. The learner management system takes knowing and turns it into doing. In other words, it, through the questions, through the process of taking your real customers and putting your real customers into the system and logging, or should I rather say, uncovering what needs to be done on a daily basis, the right activities to achieve that outcome with that specific customer, what you land up with is you land up with a very effective method or system for working with your customers. But most importantly, the online system has taken theory, understanding. See, most people know this stuff. My question is, are you doing it? And that's where the learner management system comes into its own. It helps you to do.
it. Or should I say guide you to do it?
I think also a blended learning approach, not everybody is the same. Some people are more visual, audio, text, so a blended learning, they can select what really works for them and run with that.
Absolutely. So it does. It gives, you see, like you say, there's kinesthetic learners, there's auditory learners, there's visual learners. We've taken care of all of those. So we take care of all of those. But most importantly, and I think this is the thing I need to just rewind, it's not a 3-day, 5-day sales training course that at the end of that it's just over and you kind of go back and you're lost in your world. This is constant. You are consistently exposed to learning throughout the period. So you're acquiring skills, you're growing, you're learning.
Okay, so the next reason why your students will benefit from your approach is that they'll be guided to perform enough of the right activities daily to ensure that they carry out all those crucial sales-related activities. What are some of the examples that they will be using?
Okay, so let's just rewind quickly, right? Is most people, and I'm sure you'll accept this as well, is most people say sales is about doing a lot, right? So that's what salespeople try to do, and that's what sales leaders do. Is they say to them, you must go out there and have and do 5 or 8 face-to-face sales calls. The quality, no one really cares. As long as you've got the quota and you get a quota, it's irrelevant, right? So sales success is definitely about doing enough, right? It's about doing a lot. But it's not about doing a lot, it's about doing a lot of the right activities. So that's the most important thing we do. So let me give you a quick analogy. I mean, if you imagine somebody's got imagine the biggest tree, a big baobab tree, and you're going to go out there and you want to chop down this baobab tree. You go outside and you've got a blunt axe. You're going to stand there and you're going to bash that tree and just possibly make a small hole in the tree. That's because you are doing the wrong, you're performing the wrong activities, right? So we want to equip you, and that's what our program's designed to do, is to equip you with a sharpened axe, so that you walk out and when you chop that tree, you get a result. So our whole process is designed about helping you, supporting you to identify the right activities. How do we support you to identify the right activities? We drive that by objectives. So the first thing that we look at doing is we look at uncovering what are your objectives. And most salespeople, right? What is my objective? My annual sales target. So I drive my sales by one factor. Well, I'm saying that is a factor. Of course, it's the factor. But remember, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So that's what we look at doing, is we look at taking that sales target and breaking it back to a daily objective. So I need to have a look and say, if I make so many phone calls, if I research so many customers, if I meet with so many customers, if I meet with so many existing customers, I wow my existing customers, etc. I have objectives. So I look on a daily basis and I say on a daily basis, if I perform, in other words, if I achieve these objectives, I will smash my sales target at the end of the year. So I bring it back to daily. I then say, okay, so fantastic. Not only do those objectives speak to activities. So in other words, if I'm going to research 3 customers, well, what do I need to do? There's certain tasks, activities I need to perform. Once I understand what those activities are, so I understand that those are the activities, I've got a fantastic tool. In other words, the very objectives, the outcomes that I'm going to be achieving are the measurement criteria. So against the activities that I'm going to perform, I have a set of measurement criteria, right? So all of your objectives that you set must be time-defined and specific. So if you're going to say research customers, that means nothing. How do you know? But if I say I'm going to research 3 customers, at the end of the day, I can go back and say, did I research 3 customers? If I did, well, fantastic, because these small bite-sized chunk activities, daily activities, weekly activities, monthly activities are going to add up into your annual sales target, going to add up into very satisfied existing customers. It's going to add up to getting customers to become aware, new customers to become aware of you, help accelerate the velocity of your deals through your sales pipeline. So all of these activities are driven by the objectives. So you know what your objectives are. Those objectives speak to the activities, and in the activities you can measure, are they indeed delivering the outcome that I want? That is making sure that you are performing the right, not just lots of sales activities, but the right sales activities every day.
Okay. And now, finally, you also state that your students will learn a really effective, time-effective solution that will ensure that they get all of the most important sales activities done daily. Can you please elaborate on this?
So remember, as I said to you, yes, we accept, and most people will accept that sales success is about doing a lot, right? And as I said to you, it's not about doing a lot, it's about doing as many of the right activities as possible within the time that you have available, because all of us have unique circumstances. Some people have young children, some people don't, some people have hobbies that they do, so we all have different circumstances. So we need to design a time effectiveness program that is going to be most appropriate for our circumstances. And so what we're going to look at is, let me rather explain how we look at time, right? So, or should I say how we look at managing your available time. We look at time from 3 criteria, and we say, okay, so what systems have we got available to support us, encourage us, remind us to carry out all those daily activities we need to carry out. And what the 3 systems that we have is, we have our to-do list, right? We have our diary, and we have our habits, right? So as we know, 96% of what we do on a daily basis is driven by our habits. So what we're looking at doing is, we're looking, first of all, we've helped you now to identify the right activities, which is driven by your daily, weekly, monthly objectives. We're now helping you to become time effective. To become time effective, we understand the 3 methods you have available to support you to do all the things you need to do all day. The first one is your to-do list, right? Now, your to-do list is something that you just add things to. So let's say, for example, you're going to ask me to supply you with some information. I'm going to just go to my to-do list, boom, bang it on my to-do list, and at some point I'm going to get to it and get it done. But here's the wonderful thing about a to-do list. It's what we call activities to avoid pain, right? So anything that is an activity to avoid pain goes on my to-do list. But the great news about a to-do list is it can be delegated. So we can find ways to delegate those things to other people. So activities to avoid pain, anything that could go on a to-do list can be delegated. It's probably not our most important thing we need to carry out that day. But then we have a second thing. Like I said, we have our calendar. Now, our calendar is where we put our activities for gain. Now, activities for gain are things like participating in this learning program, right? I can't delegate that to somebody else. I need to engage. I need to find the time. I need to learn myself. Also, sitting in front of a customer, I can't delegate that to somebody else. I need to do that. So I need to identify what are my activities to avoid pain and what are my activities for gain. Remember, my activities for gain go on my calendar because it's definitive. It must be done, right? So it's something that has to be done. And then, of course, we talk about the habits. Remember, there's 3 ways we get things done. 96% of what we do on a daily basis is driven by our habits. But here's the fantastic thing, we've considered that as well. So what we look at doing is, we first of all identify the right activities. We help you with a system to get as many of those activities done each day as possible. But we then remind you, we keep reminding you to perform those activities. And amazing research shows, after 66 days of performing the same activity at the same time every single day, it becomes an entrenched sales success habit. So what is our system doing? We are first of all saying, how do we help you to find time to learn? So we get time for you to learn by helping you convert consumption time into investment time. Then we say, okay, so we understand there are people learn differently. So we have a blended learning approach. We are not going to just expose you to a 5-day workshop and expect you to miraculously remember everything. We are drip feeding the information to you. We're drip feeding the information using a whole lot of different learner delivery methodologies. So whether you're an auditory learner, aesthetic learner, or whether you're a visual learner, we consider all of those. So that's what we use with our blended approach. It also gives you an opportunity to be exposed to the information throughout the day. Imagine you listen to an audiobook, you've just heard a really motivating, inspiring idea. instead of feeling flat when you arrive at the customer, you're inspired and driven, and you really want to get in there and make things happen, right? So the audiobook is it can get you up and get you going into one of your customers. So there's a whole multitude of different benefits that accrue to you as well. Then the next thing we do is we now say, what are the right activities? So we look and we say, okay, so obviously the starting point is our annual sales target. We break our sales target back to objectives. So I need to achieve these certain objectives, and if I achieve these objectives, right, so let's say for example, my sales target is 1,000 Rand for the year. I break it back, let's break it easier, 1,200, makes the number easier. I break it back monthly, that's 1,000 Rand a month. So that 1,000 Rand a month, I break it back, what do I need to achieve on a daily basis? That's my daily objective. I can then say, are the activities, because remember my objectives drive the activities. I then say, am I doing enough to achieve that? If I'm not doing enough to achieve that, what do? Change the activities. All progress requires change, but not all change results in the progress we want. So we're going to keep polishing, honing, changing the activities until we achieve those objectives. When we're achieving those short-term objectives are going to turn into our long-term objective, which is our annual sales target. And then finally, we're going to support you with a system that is going to help you to understand what consumption time is, or should I rather say activities to avoid pain, activities for gain, and our real little amazing arrow in our quiver is habits. So we support you, we remind you to keep performing those right sales activities, enough of those right sales activities for 66 days. In fact, we do it for 90, just in case. So we remind you for 90 days to perform all those activities, so you are converting those perfect activities, which you're doing lots of, because we're giving you a system to help you to do that. You're converting them into habits. So you don't only have a to-do list, a calendar, but 96% of what you do on a daily basis. In other words,
benefiting you.
Absolutely, you're performing the perfect activities on autopilot that are going to help you to smash your sales target.
Wonderful.